Welcome to the first episode of our podcast. This is relating to art of love, Eros, and these international lovers' Odyssey, traveling the world and meeting incredible women, extraordinary women waiting for us in every single country from a place of lived experience. I'm joined with Byron, my co-host, and I'm Justin. So today's episode, turn away now if you're easily offended. This is not for the faint of heart. We go into many things, the living embodiment of women's fantasies. Some very practical things that you can do and say in a bar to take a girl home, to become her lover the night that you meet her. No amount of theory or philosophy or hypothesis over the years with your guys is going to result a girl in your home that loves you for who you are. These are things that you can do to change that. We also go into antiquity and mythology and literature. Stands more the expert and the specialty on that. Love from these different angles, the perspective of the ancient Greeks and different sorts of
Mythology.
perspectives that add depth to the exploration. And it's not just the shallow animals banging. There's a multi-dimensional exploration to what we're talking about here today. And I hope you enjoy. And Stan, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I have nothing to add.
Love has many unexpected turns, twists and turns, and sometimes people are not who they think they are. And we come to this concept of what is a beautiful relationship in your mind, Stan? What is a relationship that makes life worth living for?
Hmm. I would say first of all that there is many definitions of relationship, right? And some of the guys just satisfied with the idea that she's not leaving me. She still lives in the same house, and that's good. That's good enough, they say, right? But if we look in the Greek culture, they have many more terms to describe love in general and relationship and desire. They had Eros, they had agape, philia, storge, mania,
Yeah.
pragma, and the word pragmatic comes from there. Pragma is the relationship that comes from pragmatic interests, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Zeus and Hera, his wife, they had pragmatic relationship. She became the goddess of goddesses, of gods, right? Because her husband is god of gods. Then you have mania. It's what Medea and Jason experienced, right? When he left her, she even killed her children, the children they had, his and her children. So there's definitely extreme stage. We also have storge. It's maternal love to the children, right? The earth love to us, that earth still sharing with us her goods without requiring anything in the return. We have philia, that words like philosophia, philologia comes from philia. It can be philos, love for your friend, love for the art, love for the science. Um, Obviously, we have agape. It's love to the world in general, to the God. You can replace God and universe. But I think the most important is eros, because Eros, what we call, I don't give a fuck about friendship. I want chemistry. So Eros is that chemistry. And the biggest beauty of Eros that doesn't matter how hard breakups, losses, fears, rejections we have, Eros helps us to create story out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the examples, if you take the religious person, they say, well, yeah, my life sucks. I had too many pain in the last months, but too much pain in the last months. But there is a purpose, there is God, right? So they have their own errors between them and God.
Mm-hmm.
And the same about lovers. Lovers always can say, when they're meeting in their 40s, they can say, well, all this shitty relationship that I had before, it was just preparation for the right person to meet.
They're
So,
just 40 now.
yeah, I mean, 40, 50, 60 doesn't matter. Like, I mean, it's just like it took time, but it's never been in vain. It was
Yeah.
preparation to meeting the right person for me to grow up, for them to grow up. to work on themselves. So
So
don't
two
think,
things,
yeah,
Stan, because you described many kinds of love. But for the purposes of what we're talking about today and for the future on this podcast, Eros is the main focus,
yes.
not any of these other amazing Greek terminology for different kinds of love. When in English we just have
Hmm.
love.
True.
So you mentioned Zeus and Hera, and it seems like you have many mythological inspirations, which are reflections of our human existence. But in a practical way, how do you take these Greek myths, these mythological stories, and apply it to daily life? How do you make it practical to seduction and relationship?
I think it's the wrong definition that we have in the world when we try to be pragmatic and to apply everything right away.
Mhm.
It doesn't work like this. It first makes our brain more flexible, right? And when our brain is more flexible, then you go in the club, you see the girl you're very much attracted to, and you have background of the myths, and you feel like the story is familiar to you, right? And if outcome of the story used to be not the best one in the mythology or in the history, now you can act differently because you're kind of familiar with this. I mean, we used to go out for many, many years together. I think, I think you recognize that whenever you talk to any new woman you meet, you recognize that there is patterns that you're already familiar with. And just that experience that you used to have before, right? It makes your brain more flexible to any new outcome. You detached enough not to put pressure on her, not to put pressure on yourself, but to ruin seduction, right?
Mhm. I remember when we met, Stan, in Negroni in Bucharest, Romania.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you said to me,
I
Stan was
remember.
dressed in black leather jacket and rock star, rock and roll bad boy archetype, smoking a cigarette. How's the seduction going?
Yeah, it was funny because, like out of so many guys that was in that night in the club, I noticed that only me and Justin really cared about seeing girls. Like, I just noticed that bunch of guys been there just to be there. I don't know, like, I don't want to judge anyone. They just been there, right? And I noticed that if someone is paying attention to women, it's me and Justin. And I told him how seduction going because I've seen this place dead as hell.
Well,
But
for
hey,
certain,
you'll stay in there, and I don't know how it went that night. I think it was great.
well, I know you had a good night that night, Stan.
Yeah, three
But
years.
besides that, yes, many men go out and they stay with guys and they talk to guys the entire night.
Yeah,
And they're sincere and they're good guys. And Stan and I also understand. And at the same time, mm, I guess even with nightlife and clubs and bars and events and parties, these kind of environments where you can meet girls, many guys quit before they get good at it.
no,
Or they're against going out at nighttime because they wouldn't know what to do if they went out. Or they have
yeah.
no one else to go out with. But the thing about going out is once you start getting better and better at it, you enjoy it more and more and more, and you reach a point where you don't stop because it's actually fun. Because the progress that you make, even if you don't take a girl home, is fulfilling. In of itself becomes an enjoyable sort of process, which many men never reach that point because they never started or they quit before they get to the escape velocity, the point where of increasing returns.
I would even say more like if you would ever guys go out with Justin together, you will notice that he communicates to everyone. He's a very social person, but in the same time, you have no doubts that there is one girl he really likes. I mean, he's sincerely social person. He's sincerely interested in communicating and meeting people, but he knows the moment when he needs to pull the trigger with that girl. So yeah, I remember some stories.
Well, yeah, Stan was there for many of those stories, but and Stan, I don't know, it's interesting because you represent a different archetype. You don't like people as much, but at the same time, when we go out, you still talk to people and you're social enough. So I wonder how do you make that distinction in your mind? Because if we want to meet girls, we have to talk to people.
I can honestly say that I'm completely not interested in talking to the guys. Completely. No, nothing fascinates me. But if I like the girl and I understand that her friends need to be on my side, so I will be the best friend for them
Hmm.
ever they had in their life. That's all. It's a completely egocentric decision. But in the same time, like when you're getting older, I'm almost in my 30s, right? You start to realize that in some situations your friends will be against you, and more they against you, more she likes you. That resentment creates something very, very attractive, like because it makes you way more dangerous, right? I don't say you need to be necessarily dangerous or something like that. I think all you need to be, even in the long-term relationship, you need to be mystique. And how you can, of course, you need to open up and be vulnerable to your girlfriend completely, fully. But how to be always mystique for her? Just work on yourself. Never stop. Be deeper than she expects. She drinks that wine. She likes this wine, but show to her that there is always depths after depths. I mean, and maybe the problem that guys doing this like they have the motivation, I'll do that so I would have more girlfriends. That's why it doesn't work. Girls, they socially aware. Whenever you do something for impress them or to manipulate them, they know it's before even you started to do that. They feel that, they smell that. Girls are very social aware creatures.
I'm reminded, Stan, of the quote that you told me a long time ago from The Hero of Our Time, one of
Mhm.
your favorite books, about women being drawn to what they don't understand.
Yeah,
Correct
women,
me if I'm
and
misquoting it.
I don't know, yeah. That's Pechorin says to Grushnitsky.
Will you say it again?
Women love only men they don't know.
Mm.
Yes. If you don't mind, I can give a bit context to that. So Pechorin one, it's the main character, and Grushnitsky is the second character. They chasing the same woman, right? And Grushnitsky always over-explaining to her. He say like, "I've been on this war, I did that in Saint Petersburg. I have this," and he always over-explaining, and Pechorin doesn't say anything to her. It's again, it comes to the mystery that you present yourself. We talked yesterday about that, right? It's not about how strong you are. It's not about how good you in fighting and etc. The power that you have, not over women. I know Zan likes to say power over women, but I think it's power over yourself first of all. Because if you take guys like Timur, Tamerlan, right? Chinggis Khan as well, but I think Timur, he's a way better example because we have more information on him. He used to be very ascetic as the Sufi, right? And in the same time, he was a great warrior, very, very much ambitious person. Naturally, all women in his life been attracted to him because he was the man on his mission, right? And it attracts not just women; it attracts if you want to have many friends. It's also the only way to do that, right? I mean, for me, is the coolest example I remember. A couple years ago, I used to read some books on Cosa Nostra, and it was the story about John Gotti, right? He was not the last. They obviously have new godfather in the family, Gambino family. I think he was in Gambino family, if I'm correct. So he was godfather of Gambino family. And the most famous singers of United States and etc. They've been chasing him. And he was saying to his friends, "Hey, she could be my daughter. What I'm gonna do with her?" And I mean, I don't recommend to be like that because you completely reject her, right? But that perception when guy is so dedicated to something he is doing with his life that even the most famous and most hottest singer doesn't touch him enough to shake his core. That's very interesting, in my opinion, because I mean, it's definitely not the approach when you want to date someone and being vulnerable with her and her to open up, but it's still very interesting,
Hmm.
that ambitiousness, right? And again, why I mentioned Tamerlan or Timur. He was in the same time very much religious, right? Doesn't matter how many women chased him, he stayed on his path dedicated to the war, accomplishments, achievements, and etc. He was very much inspired by Alexander the Great, Macedonian, I don't know how you say. Sorry for going too far.
No, said differently, a woman doesn't want to be your adventure. She wants to be taken on the adventure of your
Yeah,
life. Different wording, same thing. But mystique and women can actually only ever be as important as they are in your life, have to be secondary to something else that matters even more to you, that makes you infinitely attractive to women, I
what
think.
is the mystique for you, especially when we come to the land of women?
For me personally, or for
For you personally?
the definition? Oh, well, seeing the world, learning all the languages, eating all the food, meeting girls in every place that we go to. That is infinitely more true and appealing to me for the time being than no matter how amazing a woman is. No matter how many times you want to stay. So mystique comes across your face. It's like it doesn't need to be said in the sense of, oh wow, look at this guy. He looks different from all the other guys that she runs into in her work
Yeah.
in the street. Like there's something about this guy that it's unspoken that doesn't need to be said, and that is the result of perhaps traveling to 20, 30, 40, 50, however many countries, having every day be a century, as Emerson talks about. Your your life becomes not about the length, but about the depth of experience over a long period of time, and that actually is visible to women. They can see that. So something in your aura, in your gravity, in your energy field, in your whatever, something about you is different. You carry a mystique because you've seen things in the world. And in addition to what they don't know, women love new experiences, to be shown new experiences, new perspectives. And what kind of leader are you? What kind of man are you? Can you show a woman a new reality, a new universe, a new world that is the experience of being with you? That is something that money can't buy, status can't get. Because there's that innate curiosity for a whole experience or new experiences. And each guy, each leader, each seducer, each lover has a different value proposition, quote unquote. You can offer her a different adventure. A woman has a different love story with a musician than with a businessman, than with an artist, than with a poet, for example. So which one are you? Which one is the most true? Which ones do you resonate with, Stan? Because you're a brilliant writer. And how does that affect, who are your role models, for example, that came before you? How were they with women? And how did you create your archetype and your mystique and your specific lover archetype or seduction style based on those influences?
That's a very good question. I think I will disappoint many of viewers and followers or anyone who is listening to this because I'm allergic to the role models, much allergic. Definitely in my 20s, even earlier, let's say when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, one of my biggest role models was Lord Byron, great English poet. But again, I think it doesn't really matter if you are an artist, poet, musician, businessman. I don't think it matters. I think the only thing it matters, do you do your, let's call it underground art. And underground art, it can be even business, because underground basically it's something that nobody understands yet, but you already understood, right? I think when you take as definition the Van Gogh or Gauguin, it's people who've been dedicated to the art no matter what. They never been getting paid for that. They never had success with that while they've been alive, right? So I think it's I think it comes back again to the leadership, how you can lead women in general in your life. I think even our mothers, our sisters, our aunts, and when we have bigger vision than they do, right? So I definitely had a lot of role models when I was younger, but last decades I'm completely allergic to that because it's again puts you in the place when you start following someone's either approach, either way of seeing life, which is incorrect. It's the problem with the art right now in general, that art is not anymore about to open your doors of perception, right? Art right now is about to make you recognize something. So you would say, "Oh, I also felt that." It's never been the purpose of art. The art we had since the Egyptians, mostly Greeks, it's always had the same purpose to open your own perceptions. So you would see something even the author of the sculpture of the painting never saw, right? Now art, the last 100 years, is all about can you notice what I notice? Can you resonate that? Can you resonate with that? If you do, then you will pay me money, then I will be famous. It's not seducer's approach because I think seducer is seductive just because he is on his own journey, and that journey might be look creepy, weird, mm, not explainable somehow, but still, it has a lot of energy and power in that, a lot of eros, that what we talked in the beginning, right? And one of the role models, another role models I had, it was Serge Gainsbourg. I wrote many articles about him, so people who read my articles, they know that. I think it was the first of all, it was the guy who was going against everything that existed by that time. And that's very interesting. I think we talked yesterday about that, and I told you that it's not about how strong you are, it's not about how financially successful you are. Women recognize your power by you being socially aware. And socially aware, it's always about your intellect, right? You can hate people, you can be completely sociopathic, but if you understand society better than anyone around, she feels that power. She knows that your brain is strong enough to survive in three next three world wars.
What was the quote, Stan? You were talking about intelligence versus strength.
Intelligence versus strength. I don't know. I don't think it was any quote. I think I came up myself with this.
We'll say, what was it?
I don't
You
know.
said,
I honestly don't know. But I remember that I was considering a lot, like because I know I go on MMA a couple times per week, right? Mixed martial arts. And I see these guys and they're great in the fighting career, but they don't have women in their life. So
Mhm.
I just started to consider it a lot, like what does it, where, what is about them? What is power for me, for women? And in my personal opinion, um, we can take as the example Winston Churchill, right? Oh, he definitely wasn't the strongest guy in the room, but he was the most influential guy during the period of the Second World War, right? And it's thanks to his education, thanks to him being Freemason, thanks to him being prime minister in United Kingdom, etc. But I really don't believe that power, money, and any other thing solves the problem because the most guys with money, one of our close friends, he's a billionaire and he has no women in his life, but he's a billionaire. So I think I really believe that intelligence makes you the most attractive. Intelligence, depth, and um, some of the people used to say authenticity, but I would call it race, kind, you know, because it's the same with women, like the most seductive and attractive women, they know they never the most hottest women. They always women who has that breed. They have nice background of their life. They had nice
sometimes
family.
they're very hot.
Yeah, sometimes they're very hot and you don't find anything in her. Like you don't want to spend the next 2 hours with her. You're like,
But sometimes they're both, I mean, Stan.
sometimes yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Be-
Monica Bellucci is one of them.
beauty
Our
and depth. Yeah. Cheers
cheers
to
to our
that.
girlfriends.
So intelligence wise, there's different kinds of intelligence. Because our friend the billionaire, and whether founders, crypto guys, nerdy guys like myself, where I come from, like you have intelligence, right? You have a certain kind of intelligence, but is that intelligence like like street smarts, book smarts? Is it survival skills? Like a saber-toothed tiger comes, you can't brute force against it, so
Yeah.
you have to be smart to kill it, like your metaphor you gave, right? What kind of intelligence translates to success or results or lovability with women?
Mhm. There is a great article of one Russian writer. He's basically Russian literature critic. So I would say it's not about having some certain skills or something like that. It's having intelligence that is applicable. That's all.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, we collecting knowledges right now, in our generation. We have so many knowledges. We say, oh, I read Jung, because everyone reads him. Oh, I watched Sadia Khan or whatever, right? On YouTube, whatever. They use the same terms, right? There is no application of that. So that's the problem. All you need to do is collect intelligence works when you collect the knowledges, and these knowledges create new neurological systems in your brain, right? So let's say if you used to see 25 degrees like that, now you have 90 degrees. You can see like that. That's the only application of your intelligence. Your intelligence shouldn't have the service of you being most noticed in the room.
Mhm.
Your intelligence should make your life better of people around you, and especially of the woman that in your life. Even if you meet her just right now in the club, there is one guy who will look around and think that how many people are staring at us right now. Do they notice that I'm with that hot girl? Or how many people know that I have wife at home? It shows to her that he has no intelligence in his mind. That's all. The guy who has social grace and intelligence, he will think about bigger picture. Basically, thanks to his emotional and intellectual flexibility, he will bring her to the world that is way bigger than that from the very first seconds. Like, I mean, I've been going out with you for many years, and I know your approach. I think you have this when you communicate to girls.
Well, first of all, approaches
Yes.
change and they evolve. And I'm looking forward to our next adventures in our next chapter, Stan, which is going to be very soon, maybe. But for certain, at a core, if I'm describing my style or some of the greats that I know, that I learned a lot from, is that women have to feel safe.
Yeah.
They have to feel safe with you. And then when they're safe with you, they can do unsafe things. But they know with 100% certainty that if they felt uncomfortable, or because you have to be audacious, you have to try, you have to have some balls. Sometimes you go too far. We say 2 steps forward, 1 step back, after all. And mistakes of audacity are generally far more forgivable than mistakes of timidity when it comes to seduction or the art of love, or of you being a man and leading and creating experiences with women that turn you on, that you like as people. Women have to feel safe. So, for example, if you were at your place and you were right about to have sex or to kiss the girl or whatever,
Yep.
and she feels at any point that she's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Maybe I'm gonna regret this tomorrow. Maybe my ex-boyfriend's gonna find out and kill us. Maybe whatever the case is. If she feels that, if she felt like that your responsibility, no problem. We stop right now. Take the bed. I'll take the couch. I'll sleep on the floor, and I'll get you home, an Uber home in the morning. I'll get you an Uber home right now if you want. She feels you would stop at any time. She doesn't even need to act on that, by the way. She just needs to feel that that's what your response would be, that you would actually respect her no.
Exactly.
Then she wouldn't give you the no, because she knows that you would respect her no if she said so. So this is to keep in mind, with the fact that you don't need her to go home with you. You don't need her to sleep with you. I would like you to come home with me, but I don't need you to come home, because she can see that you would have just as good of a time on your own, not just jerking off. Like, you enjoy yourself as much as you would enjoy the time together with her, for example. So in a practical way, That is something, that's a spirit. That's putting words to a spirit that you can have that women can see immediately about how your happiness as a man doesn't depend anything on her external response to you. You do what you want, the way that you want. And that carries through when you go to a bar or a club. They see the carefreeness, the effortlessness, the spirit of fun on you. And compared to the way that most of us men act in the club, you don't even need any skills. Just to have that spirit is already
It's more
80% of the battle won. Yeah. Oh, this guy's enjoying himself.
not to be misogynistic, and these times it's more than enough.
Yeah. By not being misogynistic or fearing or hating women, you're already in the top 20% of guys.
You know, the Pichorin from A Hero of Our Time, he used to say this. Um, I loved 100 more times women in my life after I stopped being feared of them.
Wow.
So I think that's what in our society guys do not understand.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, it's again comes. I don't recommend to do that again. And many guys says, "Oh, but society will judge me." Okay, then you're not
Hmm.
Tamerlan, you're not Timur, you're not Alexander
Yeah.
the Great. If you still think what other people will tell about you, you're very far from leading and creating the life you want.
Wow. And there is an aspect or a trait of all great leaders, like Timur or Alexander the Great or Genghis Khan. Um, it first of all, you have to risk being disliked to be important in
Yes,
any field,
yes,
and it's a sign, and hate is a sign that you're important enough to be hated, in a sense. So whatever you're doing has to become relevant in that sense. And so this is multidisciplinary. It applies across many fields. But in the specific field of Eros and the art of love and in creating yourself, it's more about yourself than women actually.
yes,
Creating yourself in the image of your own imagination, of your desire, of your fantasy. Fantasy doesn't have to be so different from reality. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on becoming the living fantasy for women? If a woman looks at you and think, "Oh, this guy looks like a guy that's like straight out of a fantasy book that I was just audio porn I was listening to, I was masturbating to in the shower or on the drive back from work." The idea of becoming a living, applied embodiment of that, not just conceptually and practical steps. I think of David X, uh, Stan, who you introduced me to,
mhm.
and how he suggested buy a women's fantasy book and read it yourself to see what the pacing of that is, what that looks like, what that scenario is, and also give it as a gift to a girl
Yeah.
who.
I don't even think there is you need to build something on that. Of course, there is some type of guys who will do their best to be fantasy of woman, right? But it's that question is solved itself if you're doing something greater than mundane, mediocre people do in general on the daily
Mhm.
basis life, right? Because I can talk mostly about artists because I'm highly involved in the artistic industries, right? And I can say that most of the artists, what they do right now, they 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 are artists because it's fancy to be artists. They don't want to be entrepreneurs, businessmen, and etc. because it already sounds overpolluted and it's something approved of their families. So they want to have rebellion, but they want to have safe rebellion, right?
Mhm.
So to be artist full force, you need to put yourself on the edge of everything, right? When you're on the edge of everything, you ultimately become the fantasy of women because you have all the qualities you need. You go against society, so you're strong and self-confident enough to go against society. The second thing, what you have, you most likely so captured by the adventure and the dangers of your own fights that you don't have enough time to focus only on relationship, right? So
Yeah.
you ultimately become the greatest lover in fantasy in her life just because you're the man who changes the world right now in this point of time, right? For me, it's the best example. I used, you know, that I bring him a lot, and that person was very influential to me. I might disagree with 99% of his political views and etc., but it's Leo Trotsky. Leon Trotsky. In Russian, we say Lev Trotsky, right? He said, society is the woman. If you know how to seduce the woman, you know how to seduce society. It's, again, if you talk just about women, right? It's not something you can fake. It's, if you say to yourself, I want a woman to crave me for the next 5 years, it will never happen. You need to be dedicated to your life. And eventually, you will get this woman who will think about you after 5, 6, 7 years. It comes from your belief that you're the most important project in your life. And it's not necessarily to be billionaire or to be a pirate or to be a Viking or whatever. It's something that really captures you. And that goes to every area of our life. So that's how you become fantasy, like, I mean, you take example of Ragnar Lodbrok, right? The guy who been a farmer in the old Scandinavia. And then he conquered even Paris. He conquered England. How it happened? He had a vision. That's all. Women followed that vision because there is definitely some women who gives you great inspiration. But I also noticed, that first you need to give a lot of inspiration to women before they will give it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Many guys waiting vice versa, they like, oh, she need to fix me first and then I will be that guy. No, that never gonna work.
Let's wait for women to be nice to us before we're nice to them.
Yeah. And many guys are like this, right? They wait women to do half of the work first. That never gonna work like this.
Yeah, men are the leaders. We've always been the leaders.
I
That's how
want
it always will be.
to say something like there is the most, I think, the greatest example, if you take all the cultures that exist in the world by now, right? All of them are waiting for the king, Messiah, right? In the Christianity, in Judaism, then you have Islam. In Islam, they're also waiting for the prophet to come back. I think it's Isa, Jesus as well, right? You have Zoroastrians, they're also waiting for someone. And you have Buddhists as well. They have Maitreya, I think. It's like new Buddha's form that will come back and to give the new chapter to the world. So I think it's ultimate archetype of people, not just women or not just men. It's just something that we are waiting for, right? So whenever you manage to be king of your life, you will be the king of, you might be the king of people around you, right? It doesn't work for everyone around, definitely, but it definitely maximizes your chances to everything you have in your life. And it's not just about women, it's also connected to the business, it's connected to the personal friendships, relationship and family.
So across domains, it seems like mediocrity and ordinariness is actually the enemy, and there's not really no one needs to lose for someone else to win, in a sense. It's not a zero-sum game. But you have to be great. You have to aspire to be magnificent, to be legendary, to be different from the ordinary, no matter what you want to do. If you want to be important, whether we're remembered or not,
Yeah,
there's a sense of
I think your
legendary aspirations.
is one of the coolest examples, your example, because you're one of the youngest Emiratis we ever had. You joined Ars Emirati barely being 18, right?
19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of guys who were good with women. So, and at the same time, I think Justin had tremendous experience and success by being pretty young, but in the same time, very much dedicated and consistent and strong on his journey in the land of women. So I would like to share more about that.
Yeah, well, to say it simply, all of the greats, and I'm still on that path. There's no one day where you wake up and you're great and you're like, what, when are you rich,
It takes
yeah, exactly. So I think it starts from lack.
yeah. Lack of what?
It starts from lack and scarcity. And long story short, I was raised Asian American household, focus on achievement, go to good school, get a good job, then focus on love and connection. So your first pussy when you're 35 years old, something like this. And that wasn't enough. I was like 15 or 16 when I'm 15 years old when I met a girl that turned me on to all women, that became the center of the universe, a helpless fascination. Oh, I would love to be with her, but I don't know what to do to get to that point. So we take these pathways, go to the gym, learn Stoicism, uh, try and become red pill and stuff like this. These pathways that you think will make you lovable,
Uh-huh.
that as if you're not already good enough just by being who you are. You need to become something in order to deserve the love of a woman
Yeah,
like that, some 16-year-old in the grade above me.
yeah, it's the
And
biggest
so,
problem of psychology now.
yeah,
They're trying to convince you that you're not good enough. You need to do something about yourself.
yes, yes, you need more therapy. You need to pay us more money to be good enough. When
Exactly.
actually, it is like coaches or mentors, quote unquote, across industries that create a problem for you, for them to solve, for you to
Yeah,
pay them to solve for you, where they created the problem themselves, or to not actually solve your problem that you want to solve and make it worse
yeah.
without actually helping you, just taking your money along the way. This is no comment on therapists or psychologists or things like this,
Hmm.
all of which are good, but you don't see a good doctor twice.
No.
If you have a hero or a true mentor, he will take you with him. And there's a quote that I like, which is, I guided a man up the mountain and found that I had myself reached the top as well.
Yeah.
So, uh, to fast forward, uh, pain is the greatest motivator for transformation.
Hmm.
And good is the enemy of great, because Stan, imagine if you and I had grown up good, like, or good enough with girls or whatever, there would be no need to aspire to be great or legendary or the greatest, you know? So I'm very grateful for the fact that I was lonely and horny, and I liked so many girls and none of them liked me and would go bang the guys that I introduced them to,
Could you share
unfortunately.
more about the pain you experienced before you started this journey?
Yeah, well, the pain, first of all, I didn't care. It was like, video games, this is more interesting.
Mhm.
But at some point, I was like, wow, there's something that I want and I cannot get it, and that fucking sucks. And it sucks. Like, it's painful. It hurts, to be so alone for so long. And the pain and fear happens to everyone. But the difference between the master and the novice is how the master transmute that pain into motivation to become absolutely great and unignorable, to be magnificent. And so, long story short, also at 16 years old, I fell asleep when I was driving, living a life I didn't love, doing chemistry, schoolwork, papers, stuff like this. And I just stayed up late one night doing homework and then slept 3 hours, tried to drive to school, fell asleep when driving, and should have died, in essence, which is a wake up call.
Yes.
It's like, okay, if your life could have just ended like that, what did you accomplish with your life? And I thought to myself, well, I basically lived the life that my parents and society planned for me, and I did absolutely nothing with my life. And what did I want to do? I actually wanted to travel the world and meet some nice girls. That's what I wanted to do. And I hadn't even started, and life could have been over just like that. So it kind of put things truly into perspective of what actually matters here. Which then, over the next few years of my life, oriented things, and certain things were let go immediately. They were the expectations and the aspirations of others, the plans that others had made for me, let those all go. Because what is that compared to death? Nothing. So that's why, yeah, then started this journey. Maybe read The Alabaster Girl by Dan Perignon when I was like 16. Joined the community at 19. Came to Bucharest. Actually went to Athens in May of 2022 as my first solo travel sort of initiation, seeing what that was like in Europe, things like this. It's the beginning of a long journey, which is over 4 years ago now. And then after these 4 years, selling everything in September of 2023 to buy one-way tickets to travel the world, to focus on love as an art, to create beautiful love stories and memories and experiences with the women of each of the places that we would go to. 4 years later, in essence, you could do coaching calls for 100 years online and not receive any real lasting transformation, as opposed to going into the real world and testing and seeing what you were made of. And I'm very grateful to the greats that came before me, like yourself, Stan Perignon, Johnny Saporno. These guys who traveled the world for decades, you know?
There is, I think Kierkegaard, the Swedish philosopher, Danish or Swedish, I don't remember. He said it like, marry or don't marry, you will regret anyway. All you need to find out in your life what will bring you the least regrets, because
Yeah.
sometimes the answer is very simple, that I know so many guys who spend years of chasing the same woman and they regret about that they spent 5 6 years of doing that, and then they get into the land of women finally, right? And then I know the completely opposite stories when the guy was in the land of women and rejected that woman he very much liked. So that's why I think what we talk about here is very unique, because we in the same time very much encouraging you to be empathetic to him, because girls had a lot of bad experience in their life. Unfortunately, we have men who are not socially aware, not intellectual. We have a lot of people who talk about spirituality not because spirituality will help them to fix something. They talk about spirituality because it's fancy to talk about it.
It's trendy. It's
Trendy, yeah.
popular.
Fancy. Okay, I'll bring something that I guess not many people talk about, because right now, especially Stoic community, they really like to praising Nietzsche and Dostoevsky. But I'm as the person who read them completely, even before they became mainstream on Instagram. Way before that, I can tell you, this guy's never been good with women. Dostoevsky was chasing married women and offering them the last money that he'd been getting from his books, first of all. So they would join him, and his first wife married him after her husband passed away, so she might never marry him, right? The same with Nietzsche. Nietzsche even worse. He never had a girlfriend in his life, right? So
Yep.
the guys who wants to get results with women, they still refer to Nietzsche, but Nietzsche never been good with women. Nietzsche passed away from having syphilis. First prostitute he ever had gave him syphilis, and then he passed away. So I don't think it's whenever we see the quote on Instagram, we might say, "Wow, that sounds good." Yeah, it sounds good. You can apply it, but don't think that this person will solve all the problems in your life.
That's very interesting because you mentioned Nietzsche had a perfect understanding of the psychology of women, but when it came to applied philosophy and embodiment of the things he knew conceptually, could not have been worse. And
Yep.
there's a great difference between people that actually do what they teach and people that teach things that they saw or heard before or understand at a conceptual level, but they don't live. And there's certain, for example, even in these like dating and relationship communities, Stan, many people are a lot better coaches than they are, for example, lovers
Yeah.
or seducers.
Yeah.
They know how to teach, but they're not embodied. Like they don't practice what they preach. They don't live what they teach. And that's always going to be suboptimal to someone that actually lives their philosophy. It has the highest pedigree of that. Although those people sometimes can be worse coaches as well. So it's a trade-off. It's a rare thing to find someone that is both a master at what they do and a master at teaching what they do. Many men are very good with women, but they couldn't describe what they do. Just be yourself. They couldn't practically illustrate it, but they, in practice, are extremely good. Just like a lot of men, perhaps like Nietzsche, could describe everything perfectly, but never do it themselves.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
It's first of all because theory is our conscious experience, the knowledge we gather, and the body experience is subconscious experience. It's something that you need to do repeatedly,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get to that point.
There's a lot of, no matter how perfect the theory is, means nothing without repeated action and embodiment and calibration. And the path can, for certain, be easier with mentorship. For certain. And Stan, the
It's
journey that you underwent, that the one that I underwent, your personal odyssey, mine was more across South America, and yours is more across Europe. Um, you cannot leave on that kind of adventure and come back the same person.
definitely.
And what's very exciting and worth looking forward to is we're reuniting soon, and to take that adventure forward. And I sense there will be some brothers that are worthy to join us on that conquest, on that adventure, on that expedition, on the next writing of the story, of the next chapter. And so some will hear this and they will be deeply offended and they will never understand. And that's okay, because this is not for everyone. Not everyone wants to be great. Not everyone deserves to be great. And that sounds arrogant, but it doesn't matter because we're on this mighty journey in a way, and the right ones will show up and they will understand and they will stay. And it also comes down to how good do you want to become with women? If you just want a girlfriend and to continue with your life, that's a beautiful thing, if that's truly chosen and what you really want. If you want to be the greatest lover that the world has ever seen, that's also fine. That's also cool. But for certain, many men want to have a great girl in their life and they don't want to do anything about it.
There is a beautiful novel by American writer Kurt Vonnegut. I believe in English this novel called Bluebeard. Yeah, and there is one woman asks the main character, she asks how to recognize what is the best painting out of all of these paintings, right? And he said, you need to see 1 million paintings and then you will know. So I really believe before you get into a relationship with the woman, it might be the woman of your life. Truly, there is, I know many good guys. I mean, when I say good guys who is great with women, right? That it took them a lot of years to understand what was the best woman for them. And sometimes it's wrong timing, sometimes it's wrong circumstances and etc., right? But until you have this experience, you cannot understand what is good for you. You know, like I wrote some articles on Lilith archetype, right? Many of the guys, they say, I need kind girl, I need obedient girl. I don't want to have dramas and etc. But in the same time, they cheat exactly with this type of girls. Why? Because you don't know yourself. You still didn't find out something about yourself, right? And you're ruining life of this beautiful girl you're in relationship before you go somewhere else. So that's something you need to navigate. I think many of men, they getting into a relationship too early, before they had experience, before they understood what they like in women. There is a big possibility that you will ruin the life and trust of that beautiful girl that you settled with, because you will start doing crazy stuff, like dating other women, etc. And it's no one of us gonna judge you for that, but I really believe that the first step for men need to be experience the success in the land of women, the abundance, and then to
Wow.
get into relationship.
Imagine how disrespectful or how uncaring it is to get into a relationship with a girl before you're ready to actually settle with one girl. Because
Yeah,
if there's that desire in your heart to want to date different kinds of girls and in different places, and you promise to a girl that you won't be with anybody else,
yeah,
you make that commitment, but there's that desire in your heart to want to explore more, you dishonored her
yeah, absolutely.
because you're not ready to commit to that relationship. And that you made a choice from scarcity instead of abundance. This is the best that I will get
Yes,
for now. So then this is what I'll settle for. When you know before the relationship even starts that you're not going to stay with her.
I think
She
it's
becomes
good
a
advice from
stepping
you,
stone. Yeah, as well.
because
Yeah.
I think most of the women, they would worry, oh, my boyfriend had so many women in his life, he will never stop. No, I think it's completely vice versa.
Hmm.
He had enough. He knows what he wants.
And if he picks you, then that's a real choice.
Yes.
Yeah. So either way, even if a guy wants to be with one girl, which is a beautiful thing, better that choice often is better if it's made from abundance. When you could have anything and then you pick one girl, that's a real choice. I don't like the color of your Ferrari. Well, what color is yours? It's like you don't even have the option to get one. So your opinion doesn't matter in that regard, in that domain.
Yeah.
And so For
Good.
certain, even if you want one girl to make that choice from abundance, when you could have many, then you pick one that's a real choice. And she feels the difference in the quality of that choice in this exploration. So there's many more things that we could talk about, but I think this is a good point to conclude on. And to conclude with something practical, go out this weekend. This was going to release on Friday. And go make some stories. Go make some stories because no amount of theory, honestly, don't even listen to this unless you're going to go and apply it. Because otherwise, what's the point? This is just like every other video or course or series. And theory without application means nothing. In fact, it's you might as well spend your time doing something else. Really. So Stan, do you have any closing thoughts from this first episode that we've recorded? The Art of Love from lived experience.
Do I have any closing thoughts? I think I would, for the guys who feel very much unsure about what they need to do with their life, I would quote one great Russian philosopher who've been one of the greatest antiquity philosophers in the same time. And that guy served so many years in Gulag and etc. And after that, being 90 something, completely blind, not seeing anything else, he said this. It's quoted by Alexei Losev. Nonsense. There is nothing more deceptive than facts. Any fact can be interpreted in any way whatsoever. There are only totalities. And one of these totalities is love. So that's what I would say to the guys. Chase love. Do crazy things for love. Enjoy it, bathe in this. Even if this woman will leave you, give the best you can.
Yeah. Take that a step further. What is a life without mad, passionate, extraordinary love? That's half a life lived. That's no life at all,
Yeah,
to paraphrase.
because mediocre life will never make you any memories.
No one will remember you. You won't even remember you. Your days will fly by and it'll be gray and monochrome, and you'll look back and all this time passed. And what did I actually do with my life? Did I do what I wanted to do with the people that I wanted to do them with? What happened to those dreams? When did they fucking die?
Yeah.